distracted. Distracted by the distractions put in front of me. The system provides me. Distracted by the nonsense maybe in the comments. Distracted by my own curiosity. You know, I love to learn things, and I love to look into things and break things down and all that stuff. Meet me at the corner of blah blah, and you'll give me the answers I'm looking for. Yeah, okay, sure. I'll be right there. Go ahead, I'll meet you there. What is the Tartarian Empire? Unfortunately, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. Because at the end of the day, what is the Tartarian Empire? I don't know. It clearly existed. It was clearly a large part of the world, a large, had a big effect on the world. Yeah, Tartaria is one of the best distractions they've ever given us. Because it's such obvious truth, and it's one of those things where you'll always get instant gratification for your efforts. You happen to stumble across an old looking building and you look into it, you're probably gonna find a fire narrative. You're probably gonna find, a time frame that doesn't make sense for construction. You're probably gonna find no records of said construction. You're going to find all of those things, all of those telltale signs that you're on, you found it. You found a Tartarian, old world, reset era structure. And then you go, yeah, I knew it. Fuck yeah. See, I'm smart. And you get that sense of instant gratification, which encourages you to look more, to look more, to look more. Don't ignore me. You're playing with fire that you don't understand how bad it can be. It can burn you. Oh, I bet I don't. I bet I don't. And you're going to tell me the truth. Mr. Joined 2 weeks ago, has no subscriber, and has the agent profile. Okay, I'll get right on that. I already told you, I'm headed there now. It looks like I'm standing still. I'm actually walking. I'm walking there right now. So, a lot of American architecture and influence seems to be from Tartaria, according to what I've heard. Yeah, right. It's instant gratification. It's right there, and it's so obvious. It's so true. It's so, the reset narrative is so sexy because, what's going on, man? You good? Good. How are you? Good. You're so used to it being this uphill battle. You're so used to it being this thing that's difficult to even find proof of a lot of the times. It's obvious, but it's like the whole Trump rape thing, right? You're not going to find videos. Well, they found videos, but you're not going to find a video that's like, here, this is Trump raping this person, but you're not going to see that. So you then have to base your opinion on everything but the circumstantial evidence. But yet when it comes to Tartaria, when it comes to old world history, when it comes to none of it makes sense, man. Every single thing you look into, old world wise, does not make sense. Do a real good look into the Brooklyn Bridge and see how much sense that makes. Don't worry about my subscribers. I just know where you are and what could happen. Oh, okay. Are you threatening me? Are you threatening me? Just weird crybaby shit, man. Why would anybody want me to stop talking about these things? Other than guilty parties, who's going to want me to stop talking about it? I've already said it, man. Give me $20 million and I'll disappear. Whatever. I mean, $20 million, I'll disappear. Nobody will ever see or hear from me again. Until then, I'm going to try to fight for the same life that $20 million can provide me. You know, but for everyone. No Italians are what I am. Italians are a generation of halfies making babies. Obviously. I am who I am. Sure you are. And you would be coming onto a live feed like this to expose yourself for what reason? If you really are some secret, how come you're doing it out in the open? Rome, Dark Ages, Renaissance, Maya, Aztec, Spanish Conquest, Han Dynasty, Warlord Era, Tang Dynasty. Yeah, but the thing about all of those things, my man, is that you, or female, I guess, you only know about those things because you're told to know about those things. That's the problem. That's the thing that most people have such a hard time getting past. Each reset wipes away structures, records, and collective memory. Survivors rebuild and reframe the past. See, that's not looking at the cause of the reset. And this is where I hate to get into the speculation aspect of things, but yeah, Ben Franklin, go fly a kite. Right? Think about that. Think about how stupid that narrative is. Ben Franklin flew a kite that got hit by lightning and he was fine. The key absorbed it? What? No. That's not how it works. You ever seen what lightning does to things when it hits them? It's like believing Tupac and 50 Cent got shot. You ever seen what it looks like when somebody actually gets shot? They don't have beautifully sculpted fucking bodies afterward. They have horrible scars and discolorations and all that shit. It's really bad. You know, Ben Franklin was flying a kite in a storm. It got hit by lightning. Lightning traveled down the line, but got stuck on the key. Are we fucking stupid there? What are we talking about? That's not how things work. But the whole cause of the resets, we don't talk about that. We even talking about it like we call it a reset. That means someone reset things. And the only way I can explain it is kind of uniquely, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there are other people that do it, but to me, you have to keep asking why. And it's fucked up because it almost makes it so you can side with the bad guys on this. I can side with the bad guys. Other than the child rape, I can side with the bad guys. Other than the genocide aspect of things, I can side with the bad guys. Although I do, again, when you look at it from the perspective of the bad guys are who's keeping us alive, who's keeping our existence in play. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you watch TV shows that don't have any conflict? How many can even point to a TV show that doesn't have any conflict? There's always a level of conflict. Even if it's like Sesame Street, will the round peg fit into the square hole? I don't know. When I remodel this house, will this house be better and sell and be beautiful, or ooh, I don't know. You know, even Little House on the Prairie, there was the weekly thing that was resolved every week. Might not be like a world-ending conflict, but it's a conflict nonetheless. So to think, what is causing these resets? Well, from what it seems like the previous civilization had gotten to this really incredible point. And I guess common sense sort of tells you that you don't get to this utopian society across the fucking world and there's still a whole bunch of conflict. There's still people stupid enough to be like, your skin color is different than mine, so I don't like you. I don't like who you choose to sleep with. I don't like that you like to wear a dress. Right? Like, you know, they've created so many different ways for us to be in conflict that are so superficial and stupid that you know that the society that built the catacombs, the society that built the Empire State Building in just under 400 days in 1931 in New York, where winter takes over for 4 or 5 months a year. Meaning they effectively could have done, I don't know when the exact date of opening was, but it could have been 2 winters. You know, the people that built, just you fucking, India. Just India. The whole of India is just full of architecture that, like, it doesn't even get talked about because it's just so outrageous. You know, we talk about the pyramids because they're incredible and all, but they're fucking lame compared to everything else. Compared to a Machu Picchu in Brazil, but compared to, you know, the step wells throughout India, the inverted pyramids that go deep down into the ground and have have perfect geometry throughout the whole thing, that somehow have survived all of the eons. Budapest and shit, like the art, the statues, the buildings, the fact that like every single inch of these huge, massive structures is carved, is ornate, is something. The buildings in India, the stepwells, the shit, like it's just, it's interesting because when I think of India, I think of like broken down, you know, shitty looking 2-3 story buildings, you know, tons and tons of people, you know, no order to it, just craziness, traffic going in every direction, like I don't think of India as this fucking marvel of engineering, and I don't think of that offhand. But I mean, it's just that the whole thing is, a lot of India is from before, we're told, the skyscraper boom of the 1800s, 1900s happened here in the United States, where they're building huge skyscrapers in you know, less than a year in some cases. I mean, the whole narrative is just so fucking obviously broken, right? I really don't remember what I was answering at this point. Oh yeah, the whole idea of what causes the reset. Again, I assume that the existence that was here, that was flying airships all over and building the Flatiron Building, and you just name it, that didn't have the horseshit crisis, the pre-horseshit crisis. Boring. That the TV show became someone wanted to watch. And so they have to, every time we get to that point where we become universal, maybe even try to build a Tower of Babel to reach whatever's up there because we know we can't get to the outsides. But every time we figure things out, we unify, we become boring. The watchers, the people doing the choosing, the chosen choosing the chosen, they reset it. There has to be a why. There has to be a reason for all of it. There's a reason why so many people come at me with the birds aren't real bullshit. Before I even really get into it too much, they're trying to like debunk this thing. They're trying to make it so this thing is so reasonable that you don't talk about it. You know, we have wasn't expecting to see that this morning. What is it? Ah, yeah, because those aren't deer horns. Um, you know, it the only thing that makes sense to me when I really do keep asking why until I can't ask why anymore is the idea that this is somehow a reality TV show that we all live in, that we're all unwitting extras, and that, you know, this is how they do it. This is what they do. They are who chooses this, that. That's why there's so much conflict, to keep the show watchable. As soon as we get universal, as soon as we unite and we stop being interesting, as soon as we build everything we can build, they reset it. And so essentially, the system is doing what it has to do to keep all of us alive. And that's the fucked up realization to have when you oppose the system. Because you're like, what the fuck? You know? I know that's a weird one, you know, but when you consider the two options that you're allowed to think, which are essentially the same thing anyway, whether you believe in Jesus or you believe in the Big Bang. I hate to admit it personally, but the Big Bang is actually dumber than the Jesus thing. Unfortunately, it's a heavy burden to say such a horrible thing, but it's the truth. But they're basically the same. Yeah. There's a couple of questions you're not supposed to ask in both. I love when Christians say, dude, you can't, so you think all of this just came from nothing? You know, well, I mean, what made God? Where did God come from? The response is, there was always God. There was always God. That's where God comes from. There was always God. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. Entire temple complexes sprawl for miles with millions of carved figures built in eras when Europe was still in dark ages. Many were standing with earthquakes and monsoons. I mean, again, it's the concept of dark ages, the concept of any of what you're saying being true. You know, it's just not what it is. How do we know any of it's true? How do we know it's not all just Chat GPT narrative? I know that as technology is given to us, the more tech we're given, the more things from the past make sense. And a great example of that is stealth technology. Like if you're my age, you remember when the system introduced stealth technology in 1989. And out of the blue, we're seeing these crazy black, wing-shaped planes that, nobody thought was even like a thing, except for all the people that saw them and reported UFOs. So I would assume like half of the fucking UFO reports could have been explained by, oh, you saw them using this tech that they've had since at least the 40s. Some say maybe even the 30s, maybe even way before that. But stealth technology, at least on paper, has been around since the 40s. They just introduced it to us in 89. So that's 50 years. At least 50 years. At least 50 years ahead of us. Another thing that's been introduced to us recently is drone tech. Well, they've had drones for a very long time. We just finally got access to drones. And if you've ever seen a drone show for like the 4th of July or whatever, I wonder how many people saw something similar and thought it was a UFO. Something that could move like this. And what's up, man? What you doing? Oh, I'm not talking to you, that's for sure. You know, you have to allow yourself to think you're being lied to by the people you constantly catch lying to you. So now that we have drones, the other, 50% of the UFOs have been explained. Now that we, Goyim, regular civilization has access to drones. Don't you get it? ChatGPT, for years I'd been talking about this. For years I'd been saying, how stupid the Civil War was. I called it the bag of sand theory. Based on the 40-year-old virgin when, they're all hanging out and he's fitting in until they're sitting around talking about, guy talk, talking about titties and shit. And the giveaway was when they asked him what a titty felt like, and he said a bag of sand. And that made everybody go, wait, what? You don't oh my God. That was like the catalyst right there. And I think that's what we experience with all of this. I've actually lost my point. I'm stoned. The bag of sand theory. I forgot what I'm applying it to. Oh yeah, ChatGPT, right. So for years, I would say, the Civil War doesn't make sense. The Civil War, the way we're told the battles were fought, where they would line up in big long lines with their guns, their bayonets, and they would run out into the battlefield, and they would get slaughtered. And then, okay, 2nd Battalion, go! 3rd Battalion, go! And the idea of fighting wars in any sort of intelligent way just didn't seem to register with anybody. Guerrilla warfare was invented, by the Vietnamese or the Native Americans, if you want to go that far. But all these great battles of history were fought by people running at each other, running out into an open fucking field where they could get mowed down. Like it sounds like a Rocky movie to me, right? So Rocky movies are what somebody who was never a boxer, even though maybe the narrative is that's Stallone, blah, blah, who cares? Nobody who's ever been in a fight or knows anything about fighting watches a Rocky movie and sees literally anything realistic. The idea that Rocky went in with his hands down and just boom, boom, just got hit, boom, boom, and basically made the guy tired. The Homer Simpson. That's not a real thing. But when you're trying to appeal to the Jays who don't know shit, they never been in a fight before. They don't know what fights, you know, they were rich silver spoon Jays who write the narratives, produce the scripts, whatever it is. They want to see action. They want to see punch and the punch and the punch and the punch and the punch. They don't know what it's like to actually fight someone. Just like they have no idea what it's like to be in some sort of war. They don't understand war. So for them to have to create the narrative for the war narrative, they don't know what to do. It's a bag of sand. That's why we get the narrative we get. The problem for me was always like, there's a shitload of it, right? There's a shitload of historical vomit that has apparently been created or written. Even something like Wikipedia, right? To think that all of those entries were written by someone, I don't think so. I think ChatGPT's been around for a long time. And maybe they never really anticipated on giving us ChatGPT. Maybe we actually figured it out when we weren't supposed to. Maybe it was a thing. It's an inevitable thing. If you have access to said technology, inevitably you figure out a ChatGPT. But they had it for a really long time. And they used it to create our history. And because they were lazy, because they were ignorant, when they put the parameters in, they never thought that we would have access to it. They never thought we'd even have an internet. They never thought they would give us the internet like they have. That we could go back and double check the narratives and bullshit like that. They thought the most we would use it would be in school, where you have to learn it. You don't care, so you don't retain it like you would if you care. You're not allowed to question it. You have to regurgitate it. And that's what it's all built for, is that regurgitation, not scrutiny. But as soon as you start scrutinizing it, you see the same names used over and over again. The further you go down in history, it doesn't widen, it narrows down. And like, the further you go, the more and more inventions and shit like that are attached to people. You get guys like Ben Franklin who are supposedly just attached to everything, even though, guys like Cornelius Drebbel make Ben Franklin look like Ben Dover. That's my new favorite joke, man. I like that shit. That shit's funny. But Cornelius Drebbel is somebody that everybody should know about, the inventor of the submarine. In 1620, supposedly, he invented a 16-passenger sub that could travel hundreds of meters underwater, 12 to 14 feet, stay underwater for long periods of time. As a matter of fact, the first King James I was the first monarch to travel underwater on the submarine in 1620. He invented the microscope. He had to do with the invention of the telescope. He invented air conditioning. He invented explosives. He invented just the magic lantern, the camera obscura. This guy they said it, part of his historical narrative, and remember, this guy builds fountains, he's a playwright, he does all these other things. They said that he could make it thunder and lightning on command. That's something that's followed, that's part of his narrative. In 2025, when you look it up, it says that this man was said to be able to make it thunder and lightning on command. If you can show me somebody else from history that has that sort of attribute attached to them, I'd love to read about them. How do you know that? Example, cave paintings. How do we know that it wasn't a government dude that just painted it and said it's cave paintings? We don't. We don't. And the reality is, when it comes to the dating aspect of things, that things are dated to this, that, and the other, we only have to, what do they use? What magical Scantron device do they have that they can, you know, and they scan the wall and, oh, well, this was painted then. They'll say they took a little chip and then they put it in their centrifuge and spun it around, and because of that, they can now somehow date it. You know, Nikola Tesla, how do you know Nikola Tesla was real? Just a character that's given to you. Just like all of their characters, where they die alone and broke with nothing to their name and no fame or anything like that for their inventions, or like it's always the same narrative. It's always the same dumb shit. But this is the result. So much of it is the result of sort of lazily putting in the parameters for the ChatGPT to then spit out the narrative, not realizing that we would get to where we are today, and we would be able to double check the narratives and check this and check that. Think about how much easier we were to control for all of the time prior to like 2000. You know, the end of the 90s, early 2000s, when we first started getting access to the internet. I don't know, so works to you? Is it fucking magic? Did a shaman make it? Well, what do you think? If I dropped you off in the woods with a hammer and some nails, how long do you think it would take before you could create a cell phone network? You have no idea what you're dealing with, what you're talking about. And we are capable of amazing things, no doubt about it. That doesn't mean it's not technology that's given to us and trickled down, and it's not old technology. But when you're desperate for arguments, that's what you do. You come up with crazy shit. Americans seem to be very easy to control. Everybody is. What are you talking about? Who isn't? You're talking about Europe? The Europeans who have fucking kings and queens and shit, they have a monarchy that leeches off of them, is one of the most wealthy people in the world, and they leech off the people, and they don't help shit, and they fucking constantly accused of horrible things. I mean, come on. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, when you're talking about, where you're talking about. We're all victims of the same system. They have us all believing in the dumbest shit. Remember those old days of the internet, AOL, and slow internet servers, right? Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. You'd click it and go walk away and do something and wait and listen. And when you heard it stop making noise, you could come back. People have no idea. Watching the Wonder Years with my kids, and the idea of the phone rings and you run to it with your brother or whatever to try to get to it first, so you could be like, hello, because you have no idea who's fucking calling. That's such a far-fetched, like if I hand my kids a landline right now and be like, call your dad, they'd pick it up and be like, what the fuck, why is it making noise? How do you make this work? DAD? What do they do? Like, they would have no idea. They would know the number, but they wouldn't know how to do it. Like the I lived, the majority of my life, well, half of my life without cell phones. Well, more than half of my life without cell phones. Almost half my life without cell phones. Definitely without smartphones. I resisted it at first. I didn't want, my thought process was if I'm not at home, I don't want you to be able to call me. I'm out doing something. Why would I want to hear from you? I'll call you when I get home. That was my thought process until I couldn't do it anymore. I moved in with some of my buddies, and there was no landline. Or maybe there was, but everybody had a cell phone. It's just that was the transition. And those were nothing. Those were like, look it, mine has a camera and can play the $6 Million Man theme song. What we have now in the palm of our hands, I can't imagine life without it. It's hard to remember what it was like to go to a waiting room and just have to sit there and maybe read an old ass magazine that is way out of date or has been colored in or whatever. And I used to love to go and find the highlights magazines, but they were always, somebody would have already ruined it by circling all the differences. If you felt my pain, you know what I'm saying. It's amazing. More processing power on our phones than used to go to the moon. Absolutely. First smartphone in 2016. 2000. Wow. I don't remember when I got my first smartphone. But it's hard to imagine life without it. It's hard to imagine, like, for all of the time up until smartphones, if you got into an argument with someone, for the most part, it was like, friendships could end and shit over stuff. Because it was really, there was no way to prove one person was right or the other. You just had to be like, fuck it, no, you're right, fine, whatever. You wouldn't know. I used to literally call information to ask questions back in the day. Hopefully the person online, and the funny thing is, you'd call, and every time I'd be like, look, I don't need a phone number, I just have a question, and this is information. And they'd always laugh, and they'd be like, shoot. And if they didn't know, they'd ask somebody sitting next to them. I used to do that shit all the time. But, nowadays, if you're in an argument about something, it literally takes a second to look it up. Then it just comes down to what you subscribe to or not. Dude, stop hating on the Jays. Why? They're the worst people in the world. Like, by far. What they do to their own children, let alone what they do to everyone else, but what they do to their own children categorizes them as the worst people in the world. Matitza Bapé is unacceptable. No society should accept Matitza Bapé. And if you do, whether you practice it or you just accept it, or you champion other people's rights to do it, anything other than fuck that should be eliminated is unacceptable. I don't care. If you're looking for an excuse, like my camera, to run away from the conversation, if you didn't have my camera, you'd find something else. You didn't know anything, I should never visit the library. Yeah, that's what it is. So you'd get in an argument with somebody, and you'd be like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck this. Let's get in the car. Let's go to the library." And then you talk to the librarian, and you'd be like, "Hey, we're having an argument about this," and she'd be like, "Shh." You'd be like, "Sorry. Um, we're looking for books on this, that, or the other." And they'd be like, "All right, well, you could check the microfiche, which is if you have no idea what microfiche is, you have no idea the shitstorm you missed out on." But you'd then go, she'd give you a list of books, and then you'd have to go and sit there and read the book until you got to the right paragraph, because it wasn't like there was something that said, turn to this page to find this exact fact. And so you and your buddy, or you and your sibling, or you and, a random stranger would be sitting in the library trying to figure out which one of you was right. And then whoever came across the point first, you'd be like, here it is. And they'd be like, oh, okay. You want to go get something to eat? And then you'd get in the car and go somewhere else, right? Because that makes sense. That's a really good argument. Look at how desperate people are, right? Just so stupid. Not an excuse, fool. I thought you were interesting, but I can't handle the camera spin. Oh, okay, so you never watch videos where somebody's moving. That's strange. You don't watch TV and shit either? Fool. If you're looking for the way out, you'll find one. It's too hot outside. I'm not going to your thing that's gonna help people out. It's hot outside. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's how reading and learning works, LOL. Like this is an embarrassing level of stupid, right? Again, to think that two people are having an argument and the way that it was consistent, because I grew up in that time and it literally never happened. But this person seems to think that that's the way it happened. People would get in an argument, and then they would just go to they would go to the library. Oh, it's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Not that the screen is spinning. Some people are conditioned, so don't necessarily look. The screen isn't spinning. I'm not doing this. I'm walking and then making turns. A lot of the times I do sit down, but again, you want to talk about something stupid, and we can talk about something stupid. Oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I know, I got the notification. She always thinks she can pull one on. I tell you, they make it less fun. It used to be that you didn't know when it was coming, so it'd be like, oh, yeah.
You downloaded the app.
No, I didn't.
You don't have informed delivery? How they let you know then?
Email. It's through eBay, so eBay just sends you that. There should be a third one. There's only two. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh.
Hold on, wait.
I refuse to not sign those because I want them.
Sign the second one too.
The printed name?
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
Okay.
Like, what's the point if that's what everybody does? It's just because if you were trying to steal it, you could just do that.
But then y'all would call a snitch and say that we signed.
Right, but even then, I could easily make these disappear and then be like, I didn't sign for that. Look, that's not my signature. Have a great day. You should know. That's what I pay you for.
What?
To know these things.
No, because at one point they told us, like during COVID, they said we could sign for y'all and just leave it. And then now they like, no, the customer gotta sign. But that's the real question. Like, what's the difference? as long as we leave it at the address, because they track it.
Right.
When we scan it at your address, it pinpointed in their computer exactly where you dropped it off at.
Right.
So what's the difference?
Right.
I don't know. A lot of stuff at the post office don't make sense.
Well.
Like we still ain't got our money.
That's insane. That's
How
insane.
long y'all been complaining about that?
At least a year.
3 years.
I was gonna say at least 2, but I didn't want to overshoot it. Yep. I'm a nut. Like, you have to love how this is always the thing. The guy that doesn't believe in the Sky Daddy, the guy that thinks we should take accountability and responsibility for things, the guy that, you know, wants to stop the pedophilia, stop the genocide, stop the I'm the crazy guy. I always love how that works. You know, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's all the same dumb system behind these fake fucking profiles to begin with. This is Team Jorge. This is act.il. I can back up everything I say. None of you can. None of you look into this shit. You definitely don't look into it more than me. What's up? What kind of dog is that?
He's a terrier, blue heeler.
Yeah, I was going to say he looks like one of those blue dogs, but he's a lot smaller.
Yeah, he's 10 years old though.
Yeah.
He's technically kind of in his senior years.
The bad part is this Redford water. I don't know if you give them the Redford water, but a lot of the dogs around here end up dying from stomach tumors, and the only thing I can attribute it to is the water that everyone gives them.
Tap water?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, I wouldn't drink the tap water myself. Do you
No,
buy?
we got a water filter at our house.
Right,
so.
right. But yeah, I don't know if you notice, like a lot of the dogs have little growths on them everywhere. I think it's the tap water. What do I know? I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. Have a good one, man. Yep. Still haven't got help. You need help. You're asking too many questions. Other than going live, talking about these things, and trying to get to the bottom of it, how else are you supposed to help? Is it just drugs? Is that what you're saying? Medication so I can be a lobotomized fucking goyim like you need us to be? Is that what you're saying? It's always so funny how desperate these people are. The Redford water system, I believe, is fucking nasty. How could it not be? All these pipes are like fucking 50, 60, 70 years old and shit. There hasn't been this system-wide, redo, reset. It's nuts. Whatever the piping were, it's going to break down over time. Our water stinks. The only reason we give it to our dogs is because we can't afford to. We have 2 big-ass dogs. We can't afford to give them. We can't afford to buy water for them. But it's fucking crazy how many dogs in the same area have died from the same thing. Their body starts getting riddled with tumors. Their insides are riddled with tumors, and one day a tumor just ruptures. They live between, 8 and 12 years old, maybe. 12 years old is, I only say that because his dog was 10. But like he said, he has the water filter, so maybe that's slowing the process down. But most of the dogs die between 8 and 10 years old. And that's the water people are cooking with. That's the water people are bathing with, brushing their teeth with. How do we know that's not fucking us up? It just doesn't make sense that like, again, shouldn't you have to redo the pipes? Shouldn't there be something else happening here? Almost died in your town, die at that age. Can I back it up? Yeah, because I have a bunch of death certificates just sitting around handy. Just go ask people. We've had 2 dogs die of it. The neighbors had at least 2 dogs die of it. They had a dog die of it, and another one is experiencing it now. We have one dog that's we're going to be putting down soon because he's so riddled with tumors. We knew a guy, a couple streets down that had the same thing. Like, it's everywhere. I'm sure the more people you interview here in Redford, the more people you would, find that had dogs that died of similar circumstances. You said not 3 minutes ago you can back up everything I say. I can. That doesn't mean I have documents to back it up. But I know everything I say can be proven. And most of the time I actually do. I can actually show you the narrative we're given. Not necessarily, again, Donald Trump signed documents. But the narrative we're given says everything I'm saying. Tap water is bad. That's why you filter it or boil it. I thought that was common sense. Why would that be common sense to begin with? Why would we live in a society where we have to boil our tap water? I mean, it's stupid. You're concerned about Muslim colonization? No, not at all. I mean, you see it happening. Yep, you see it everywhere. You see the colonization happening everywhere. Again, it's always white people that do that shit. White people did that with black people, here in the United States. White people do that with Mexicans to this day. Like, white people make up the vast majority. And Muslims aren't, like, this whole idea of Muslim grooming gangs. If you're focused on the Muslim grooming gangs more than you are the Royal Families Association with pedophilia, with the large pedophile networks that have to do with everything, including Muslims being victimized by it. All you Tommy Robinson supporters out there, yeah, he's a big fucking Israel supporter. He's bought and paid for by Israel. For you to fucking associate with Tommy Robinson or associate Tommy Robinson with truth is just your bigotry being catered to. That's all. You're just a bigot who's looking for a reason to justify your bigotry. Muslim men aren't trying to fucking have sex with regular old white women. They're just not. Oh, we've got the crackhead one. Gotta love the crackhead. Got those. Every time we start really getting into something, gotta start making those provided talking points. It's been like that since the beginning of time. You always boil your water. No, that's not. Like, I don't know what little fucking town you have that has internet, but still thinks you need to boil your water. Like, that's a normal part of things. Like, yeah, that's not how that works. But okay, nice try. You're white, dude. Yep. Even if I was white, what would that matter? Like, that's how stupid and racist people are. This is the type of person that'll claim they're not racist, but then think that because somebody's white, they shouldn't say these things. Like, how stupid can you be? You just walk into the traps. I set these traps and you guys just walk into them. You out yourself. The more these idiots talk, the more they out themselves. Even bottled water is filtered, bleach, boiled, then UV treated. Tap water, only bleach. Okay, listen. You guys who don't understand this. The tap water that you have, that comes out of your faucets, has been pissed in, shit in, puked in, vaginal bleeding in, fucking dead goldfished in, you know. The amount of the water supply all goes into the same outsource and gets flushed down through to the same water treatment plants where it just continuously gets recycled. And it's cleaned until the point where it has an acceptable parts per million, while also having synthetic fucking toxic waste fluoride added to the water because it might have a between 3 and 26% chance of preventing cavities in adult teeth. So they add toxic waste to the water system. But again, the water system is toxic waste. It's just cleaned to the point where they say, all right, this has, X amount per million, parts per million fecal matter. It's clean enough. And they send it through. Water isn't new. It's just recycled. There's no new water on the planet. It's all just been recycled over and over again. Yeah, left wing believers, yes, that's what it is. The race statistics in Britain are off the charts. Are they? Are they really? Who do you think provides you that shit? My fiance escaped Islam. You have no idea what you're talking about. Her parents tried to sell her and they beat her for decades. Yeah. I mean, that's no different than Christianity. Islam and Christianity are the exact same dumb goyim religions. They just have some slightly different characters, slightly different settings, slightly different presentation, but it's the exact same bullshit on both sides. These same crybaby people talking about, these crybaby Christians talking bad about Muslims, they have nothing to say about the 2018, the Pennsylvania diocese was exposed as 6 of the 8 dioceses that the state is broken up into were just riddled with pedophilia, where priests and shit were getting caught and sent to other places in the country without any sort of, heads up or any, hey, this guy's a pedo. They would just get sent across to another place. And they would then go violate somebody else somewhere else. And once they got in trouble enough times, they'd send them to the Vatican so they couldn't be extradited and blah, blah, blah. 6 out of the 8 Pennsylvania dioceses were just riddled with it. The 2 that weren't were Amish communities. So there's no real, on record statistical data in those 2. The amount of money that the church has paid out to silence, and those are Catholics. No, you're all Catholics. You're all Catholics. Somebody somewhere down your family line, apparently, decided that somebody else who was a part of a part of the group, but then they didn't like certain aspects, so they left, started their own Lutheranism, Protestants, whatever. Well, not the Mormons. The Mormons are even goofier. But they started, and so everybody followed them, I guess. And for years later, you're still like, I'm a Baptist. We talk in tongues and shit. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But you're all the the pedophilia aspect is all over religion. It doesn't matter what religion it is or what denomination it is. Especially when the main requirements for your leadership is that they're virgins and shit. Why would anybody take marital advice from a virgin? Why would anybody take life advice from a virgin who never had to pay his own bills, never had to deal with any sort of realistic stuff? You're gonna take advice from that piece of shit? What are you, crazy? The rape statistics, Muslims are just raping women left and right. No, they're not. That's not how their religion does things. It doesn't fit the narrative. And you know who's been raping children the whole time, raping women and all that? The Jays who control the entertainment industry around you. Whatever Hollywood version you have, the UK has its own Hollywood. It's the same shit. Just skip over all this shit. I'm just so sick of people's arrogance, man. Everybody acts like they've looked into all these things. They've spent hours, like I have, looking into all these things, and that they can debunk it with some sort of, reasonable whatever. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You saw some white guy crying about this, that, and the other at some point, and you were like, fuck, man. I'm white. And because of that, you... What's up, dude?
Did Nick wake up?
I think so.
He was still asleep.
I think he's draining the main vein.
We only go up sometimes. If there's some damage.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. He gets his penis from his mom. Persia was the last stronghold against... No. I don't even have any. Bring one down. I'll take care of it. I mean, it's so funny to me, like, you guys are sitting here again talking about the Ottoman Empire. Like, you fucking know. Like, it's not possible that the narrative that you've been given regarding this thing isn't 100% true. And you know that all of the other narratives that contradict what you believe, you know those are not true. It's so weird how arrogant people are. You know? It's amazing how much a like normal part of things arrogance is. Everybody's so arrogant. And the best part is everybody's so arrogant they don't think they are. They think everybody else is, but they're not. And I know you'll say, that's what you think, dude. There's a difference between you and I. I'm not arrogant enough to think, I don't believe Oswald shot Kennedy. I think when it comes to the assassination of a president, I think my American government is lying to me. However, I believe in Constantinople because that same system tells me to. I believe we went to the moon because the same system tells me to. I believe we live on a round earth, not because of my own personal experience. No, no, no. Because I am smart enough to know when my government is lying to me and when they're not. Like, I knew when they told me that I needed to go out and get the 6th booster shot, that 6 was one too many. And I didn't get that 6th one, or any of them, or any of it whatsoever. You knew your government was lying about that, just like you know they're telling the truth about George Washington. Just like you know they're telling the truth about the construction of the Empire State Building in a year, well, in 400 days in 1931. You know that, right? Persia officially became known as Iran in 1935. Again, you know that, right? You know that part's true. You know the Holocaust narrative. You know what they tell you about the Holocaust, that that's true. And that all of the information that's contradictory, you know that it's not true. You know it because, you know, you were right there. You saw it happening in front of your eyes. And if it's happening in front of your eyes, it can't be a trick. David Copperfield absolutely made the Statue of Liberty disappear, no doubt about it. Like, it's amazing how arrogant you are. You just don't realize it. The whole Christianity thing is like, Christianity is the absence of ego. That's sort of what they claim. And yet Christianity is the definition of ego. That God has a plan for everything and yada, yada, yada. But if you pray hard enough, and not even pray, if you tithe, because God doesn't answer prayers, God answers tithe. If you tithe enough and then ask for it, God will change its mind. God that's making the universe work, that makes the babies breathe, that gives the babies AIDS, that, you know, makes the forest fires happen and shit. That God has the ability to, oh wait, what's little Jimmy want? Oh, Jimmy wants to win the basketball game tomorrow. Okay, little Jimmy, you gave $1,000, so you can win the basketball game tomorrow. I like the other team. And that guy gave $700 and prayed that his team would win, but you gave 1,000, so I'm gonna give you the win tomorrow. Right? It's just fucking stupid. And this is such a hard thing for especially smart people, because smart people don't want to acknowledge that maybe all of that time they've spent researching, all of the stuff they think they know is bullshit, waste of time. It was just you programming yourself with the narrative that they want us to know. Your arrogance is gonna step in and be like, no, if it was fake, I would have known it was fake because I have a fake detector. This battle of arrogance is such a hard thing to get through. Does Palestine exist? No. What an idiot. But, you know, the reality is there's no lines on the ground that you know, like you're on the outside of Palestine and you go in, cross those lines and like, Palestine. That's not a thing. Just like the US, the United States, this imaginary set of boundaries and lines and shit. Well, none of that's actually real. But the whole nonsense that Palestine doesn't exist. Palestine existed on maps in the narrative that we're supposed to know. Palestine has existed for hundreds, thousands of years. Israel has not. You know, one of those things that you guys love to not know? Israel, or that Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. That Hebrew was invented In the late 1800s, early 1900s, though, it was revived, is the revived, not invented, revived. Apparently, all of the Hebrew texts and all of the scrolls and all the fucking books that were ever made in Hebrew and all that, not one of them was a dictionary. Because the first Hebrew dictionary was made in the 1900s by a guy called Eliezer Ben Yehuda. Eliezer Itzhak Perlman, actually, but he changed his name to Ben Yehuda, you know, like they all do. And he invented Hebrew by using Aramaic, especially Arabic, to account for the deficiencies in the language as it was. They had to use Arabic to make their language. And basically, Hebrew is just, if you were to take a mirror to Arabic and then write it out, that's what Hebrew is. Youngest language on the planet. Britain did not invent those countries or decide their borders directly like they did in Africa and former Ottoman. Again, you're just so lost in it, it's crazy. Eventually, it's going to dawn on you that you're just regurgitating what you were supposed to. Well, that's because they're ancient Hebrew, you really need to. That's because their T-H-E-I-R is ancient Hebrew. You really need to, yep, there's ancient Hebrew, and then it disappeared, and then it needed to be revived because it had disappeared. Yeah, that sounds believable. Hebrew is literally older than Arabic, but okay. All right. So, always got to do this because there's always stupid people here. Eliezer Ben Yehuda. That's this doofus. Born Eliezer Itzhak Perlman. January 7th, 1858. Died December 16th, 1922. Was a Russian Jewish. He's Russian, which is from Russia. And he's Jewish, which is from Jewisha. How are you Russian Jewish? Nobody is ever referred to as a Russian Christian. He was a Russian Christian. Because that's stupid, right? He was a Russian Jewish linguist, lexicographer, and journalist who immigrated to Jerusalem in 1881 when the Ottoman Empire ruled it. Ooh, Ottoman Empire. That's what made me start talking about it. He is renowned as the lexicographer of the first Hebrew dictionary. Also as the first editor of the Jerusalem-based Havzi, one of the first Hebrew newspapers published in Palestine. In Palestine. See, that's weird. Ben Yehuda was the primary driving force behind the revival of the Hebrew language. To accomplish the task, Ben Yehuda insisted with the Committee of the Hebrew Language that, to quote the committee records, in order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules and grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic, and especially from Arabic roots. In 1903, Ben Yehuda, along with many members of the Second Aliyah, supported Theodore Herzl's Uganda scheme proposal, where they were, until they could take over Palestine, they were going to make a portion of Uganda their little homeland, but it would have been too much work, so they decided against it. Ben Yehuda raised his son, Ben Zion, meaning son of Zion, entirely in Hebrew. He did not allow his son to be exposed to other languages during childhood, and even berated his wife for singing a Russian lullaby, because he's a good guy. His son thus became the first native speaker of Hebrew in modern times. Look at me making shit up. Look at how I make it up. Oh, you're using Wikipedia. 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 You're using Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a good source. You're using Wikipedia. You're using Wikipedia. Come on now. It's not letting the page come up. Let's try this again.
This is why you should
There
never
we
listen.
go. All right, so I can't use Wikipedia, right? Naftali Bennett, Prime Minister.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. I came here to learn.
So when I'm using Wikipedia, it's literally the source that Israel and the Jays want me to use. So there's no conspiracy about somebody inventing the Hebrew language, that some conspiracy theorist made that account. No, no, no. It doesn't exist on Wikipedia if it's not balanced and Zionist in nature. Which is, which is the end of the discussion. Go get your free download. Gotta love those right angles and square clouds. Right angles left and right. Everywhere you look, right angles. All straight lines and right angles. Shaded to look like they might be round. But if you pay attention, look, it's a right angle. See that square in the middle? Look, it goes right up, point, and then it goes this way. These are right angles. It's all square lines. It's all digital. See? It's all digital. If you look at the sky in Skyrim or any other modern day video game, if you look at the innards of the video game, right, where they show you the polygons, it's all squares. It's all straight lines. They just shade it to make it look a certain way. They can't digitally. They can't make round shapes, like perfectly round shapes. Doesn't work that way. Zeros and ones, baby. Anyway, go get your free download, www.the-builderberg-group.com. It's free to download. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. Click 0, click $5, $10, $150,000. You do whatever you want. We appreciate it. Oh, yes, get to share it with somebody. Go watch Hollywoodism, the most important film ever made. Leave you a link to that. Leave you a link to Hollywoodism. Hollywoodism is saying everything I've said, but from their perspective. They're explaining it to you. They're explaining to you that I'm right. But go check it out. Go check out the 3 Facebook songs that I'm going to leave you as well. Have yourself a great day. And most importantly, you pedophiles, kill yourself.